Hello, guys. Today is the 22nd of June, and this is my new weekly commentary. So, if we take a look at Forex Factory, what we can see is on the Monday we have PMI, the Euro one, and then the GBP one, and then the USD one in Europe. So, what this tells us is usually with PMI, the 315 can be the manipulation, or it doesn't have a large impact. The main PMI for the euro is the German one. So with the German one, that's where we expect the expansion to happen. GBP is just all in one, and USD is all in one. On the Tuesday, what we can see is we have Fed Chair Powell. This isn't really important, apart from the Chair Powell one. With this, what can happen is we either don't move at all, like in the last few times. However, it is still a dangerous news to trade, as sometimes we can have moves of even 100, 150 pips. Same with the Wednesday, depending on what he says, especially with the wars going on right now. What can happen is a significant move on the dollar, especially with the Iran conflict right now. Thursday we have unemployment claims, and Friday core PCE. So what this tells us is we expect the expansion to happen throughout the first half of the week. The last part of the week looks slow, so basically with what I see, depending on how PMI day goes, what can happen is Monday could start the expansion or set up for the expansion, and then Tuesday going into the Wednesday, what can happen is we finish the expansion on the Wednesday or the Tuesday. So if that was to happen, the Thursday and the Friday, I would expect to be a retracement. But let's see. I wouldn't recommend trading 10 a.m. Tuesday or 10 a.m. Wednesday. And for these, what I would expect is to look to trade past the 330 candle. A lot of the time we might even have a target and then fail it, and then we can, on the retracement, we can catch a move to finish the target. Same with the 30. This one's okay to trade. It's quite clear most of the time. And USD is depending on the day, but sometimes it can be clear. But if we look at a chart now, so first let's start with what happened last week. As you can see, what was it? Sorry, I was backtesting. Yeah. So we opened last week. There was the 15th of June. Yeah, correct. Sunday, 15th of June, the market opened, and it was a bit unclear, especially with FOMC on the Wednesday. That's why most weeks now I will be probably skipping the first 3 days of FOMC weeks, because they're just not worth to risk the capital on. But I'll see. I'll let you guys know. But basically, Monday opened. Monday was not a good day. I didn't see my setup occur at all, because as you can see, we opened, the Asian session just consolidated, and then as you can see, London, as soon as it traded lower, pretty much consolidated and moved in PM session. And there was no way of me getting positioned here, as I didn't see even a target. Because if you're targeting a previous weekly low, it just fails. But I was looking for longs on a Monday anyway, so this was invalid. Tuesday, what we could have traded was this 12-hour range that we had. This one. Because as soon as Tuesday New York opened, as you can see, this candle closes above. But what you can see here is we have this candle. We always start from left to right. So if we go here, these two are closing inside of this candle, And what you can see here, what do we have on the left? We have a range. And then what you can see, we open below, close inside. Where's the next target? This high. And then because this closed inside, this high is the next target after that. So what you can see is with the 12-hour, with this candle opening above, that's a red flag to trade longs then. So as soon as this candle closes and this candle opens below, that's our entry to go higher. That was one thing you could have traded. That was about it for the Tuesday. As you can also see, what was it? Yeah, as you can also see on the 4-hour, we had this restart range, opens above, goes lower, new candle opens the 4-hour, and to go higher. Not much more on the Tuesday. On the Wednesday, as you can see, we had once the bias became clear, I expected this weekly to be our next target, and as you can see here, it trades below, creates a new range in the Wednesday Asian session, like Tuesday to Wednesday were Asian session, and opens below, goes higher, retraces, opens below, and takes out the previous low to go higher towards the target. Where would your exit be? As you can see, 1 second, it was the Wednesday. Yeah. Post FOMC, if you did enter on this sweep, post FOMC, your exit would be on the new higher high of the candle. FOMC, as you can see, it was at 2 p.m. New York time. So 3 p.m. New York time should have been your exit. You don't really want to hold overnight, but really up to you. On the Thursday, if we look, what happened was, I'm doing this in real time with you guys, so just be patient. 12 hour, I think it was. That was New York. 6 hours. What's this one? I think. Yeah, with this candle, it was still a slow day, as you expect, because it was a USD bank holiday. So if you did not decide to trade, that's still perfectly fine on this day. But as you can see, what happened was we opened above, closed inside, opened above intra turtle soup, closed inside. Then with this candle, we went higher and then restarted this range, which would have been the target, but there wasn't much else other than that. Targeting just this low after sweeping this high. Then the Friday was quite clean. We went into a new week opening gap. And what you could see is what was it? Daily. Oh yeah, with this daily range to go lower, but at the same time we did have a I was looking for lower on this day. I think it was 412. 3. Yeah, so with this retracement here, because we entered the new day opening gap we created on the Thursday and closed. So from here I was looking for shorts due to this daily range that we had. And from here, what you can see is, if you look on the lower time frame, 10:45, what happens? Failure swing. So you can look for shorts from here towards the target, which I closed at, which was this 3-hour range. So every time I enter a position, I look on what's the lowest hanging fruit I can target at 2 or 3 hour. And that's all I do every time. So if we look for next week, let me delete this. Perfect. So on the weekly, my target still remains 99390, which I expect us to take early on in the week next week. But as you can see, monthly, if this candle decides at the end of this week to close inside of here, then I will be still looking for longs. However, if we close below it next week, then I'll have to reassess. But my target right now on the monthly would be this high, but it's still far away, 101,959. Still quite far away, but we'll see how this weekly candle closes. I don't expect no lower low to be made, as I think we've already placed in the low of the month that I expected. On the 3 week, what we can see is we closed inside this, which gives us a strong indication that this is our next target. On the 2 week, this candle wasn't closed yet. It still has this week, I'm pretty sure, so you still have to wait for this one. On the weekly, my low hanging fruit is this target still, and I'll reassess from there if to look for a retracement or if to keep looking for longs, depending on when we hit it and how we react from that level. 4 day, 3 day, 2 day. Yeah. So from what I can see on the higher time frame, something I'm expecting for next week, especially with the week after being, what's the week after? It's 30th to the 4th. Euro bank holiday. Bank holiday again. So we don't have much next week. Much major news events. So as you can see, what I'll be expecting for now is, unless we open higher because of the conflict going on between Iran and USA, for next week, especially looking at the 2 day and the daily, what I'll be expecting is something like this for next week. 1 second. Okay, so that's just a glitch. So we did close inside this candle. So this is a valid range now. So what can happen is maybe something like this to go lower and continue higher. I'm not sure what the target past this will be for now, apart from the monthly one, which I still have, but it's far away. But something like this could be the case, or even just straight open above, and then we'll be looking for a retracement lower to continue higher. Then something like this could also be the case. Looking at the higher time frame, this week direction is quite clear to go higher. If I just mark out, this 2 week looks really promising over here. Let me just check. I think it matches the 3 week. Yeah, so we have a 2 week, 3 week, and monthly as well here. But the weekly target will be the low hanging fruit for now. I'll add this after my target's complete. So depending how we open, if we would want to open below all these lows, then I'll be looking for higher straight away. But if unfortunately we open close to the target, then I might miss it. But yeah, this is pretty much it for the weekly com. I think the bias looks quite clear this week. We have a few dangerous news events that I would be cautious of. I'm not saying don't trade, because it's okay to trade some of them, but some of them you have to be cautious of, as they could lead to potentially damaging your accounts. But this will be it for the weekly com. I hope you guys have a good trading week. Thank you.